I don't know about that.
Maybe you just don't put enough gusto into it.
Maybe you both need spinach, yeah?
Is spinach hearing?
No, spinach is like power, isn't it? Popeye.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying for us, though.
No. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
Is that your idol? Is it? You want to be Popeye? You want to bring Olive home?
No. Olive. Is that the woman in it?
Yeah, it is.
I don't know.
The only reason why I remember.
I don't know where you're going with this.
I played a game of code names last night, and Popeye was the clue, and I was like Olive and something else.
You're joking.
That's genius. Never would have got that.
That's weird, isn't it?
I'd have been straight on the bomb.
Look at that.
Because he had a little dog as well, from memory. Anyway, carry on.
Right. Should we go straight into it? Got plenty to cover. I'm bored of speaking to you guys. It's too hot. We don't like being with one another.
It is way too hot.
It is warm, isn't it?
Yeah. Welcome everyone to the another episode of the SpilltheTeaCG podcast with your boy Alex Dow, Joe Bernard, and Benjamin Yard. How are you all doing? Obviously, there's been a lot that's been happening. It's been another couple of weeks. I've got a haircut, which is always a good sign. But yeah, let's just go straight into it. NAIC was this past weekend. Joe, you were playing, I was casting, and Rabbi was changing diapers. Joe, how was your travel and playing an IC again? Give us a little bit more details.
Yeah, travel was good. I got there on Tuesday, but I actually flew into New York first to catch up with Emily. So I got to see tiny bits of Philadelphia, tiny bits of New York in just like a 2-day span before we flew out to New Orleans together. I was there last year, so there wasn't too much I wanted to do outside of Bourbon Street, which I certainly did get my fill, which was great. It was during Pride, so it was pretty mental, and I drank way too much. But it was a lot of fun. I haven't played NAIC since 2017, where I played Xerneas Break, and for some reason I thought that meant I should go rogue again. So I decided to play Blaziken Zoroark, which is similar to what I did a video on, and even before that video I was like mildly intrigued by the deck as a stage 2 that didn't get messed up by the other stage 2s as much as like I thought the rock paper scissors was between those top 3 or 4 stage 2s. So there was some logic to it, but mostly it was down to me trying to ladder with Dragazard, getting frustrated, and then always finding my way back to just playing Blaziken just for some fun and relief. And I also enjoyed the like process of tweaking that list and whatnot. So it was more just me thinking like a sunken cost fallacy of like, I've played a lot of this Blaziken deck. I was like mid 1700s ELO, which isn't too impressive, but like fine. And I was beating good decks. So I was like, yeah, okay, let's just ship this. There's decent enough logic and I like my list and I have surprise factor. And I feel like I had a couple tough rubs of the green during day 1. I didn't make it through day 2 of the competition. I tied 3 rounds into other stage 2 decks, which was, I think, my biggest killer, where I tied a Dragger Dusk after me having trade Fez for game and whiffed. I tied to Reagan Retzloff playing a really interesting Grimmsnarl list where he surprised me with Blood Moon in game 1, thinking I had just monkeyed my way out of a Devo late game that I thought he was going for, and then he was able to pivot to a Blood Moon late game, which was really strong, and took a 3-prize turn that way. I did lose to a Grimmsnarl, admittedly. I just had a really slow start there. I tied another Dragger Dusk where we didn't have time for a game 3, and then I lost to a Joltik box after beating one earlier in the day, where I prized Defiance Band, which is like the absolute most crucial card in the matchup, game 1, and then I just got donked game 2. I announced Collect and died. So yeah, like, overall, I think Blaziken Zoro is like not a super strong deck. I know like one person made day 2 with it, I think. But I did enjoy the process and the testing. And I mean, in hindsight, I definitely should have played Dragazard. It's just like a more powerful combination of cards. But the most funny thing was me in day 1, watching the stream in between rounds, seeing Evanoff playing Dragazoro, which we'll look at in a moment, like later when we get into the results, and me just realizing that like, that is just better than my deck in every way. in that it has more draw power and a better attacker and still had energy acceleration. So I think it's time to put the chicken to bed. But I at least had fun, and there were genuinely powerful elements of the deck that I played.
I just bought some Blazikins.
I
had
you knew
all
the
my
risks.
faith in you. Yeah.
You knew the risks.
I mean, talking about talking about us seeing a deck that's basically does the same as, you know, what you just said happened at NAIC. I guess it's like we had a little deja vu moment of like, what was it, the Yveltal? What was it, this Fright Night Spear or whatever it is? And then, of course, Mega
Ordino.
Season,
Yeah, so it was the same thing.
Similar.
Yeah, the same thing happened
yeah.
again, where even often Henry Brand came up with this really cool combination where the Zoroark is helping balance the Guardy matchup, but then being Zoroark in other situations. So, yeah, I did really like that mini package, and I think that mini package will continue to be better going forward, even into Worlds, because we gain Air Balloon, and that's one of the issues of the mini Zoro package anyway. Yeah. So I think that's something that we'll take and run with, at least, even if it's not Blaziken.
No, it sounds good. At least you were able to play a deck that...
I had fun. I did have a lot of fun rounds. Right? Yeah, I did. And, like, in the build-up to the tournament, I was really, like, confident in the 60, so I didn't really want to make any changes, and that just was big peace of mind for me to just enjoy the tournament, to be honest. So, not too much regret, ultimately. Even though I did have a really cool secret box Stragazard that I thought could have done well as well.
Fair enough. I mean, speaking of in the build-up to the tournament as well, you also... getting your taste buds tickled by the culinary experience of America.
I did.
You
lots of first time foods and drinks and stuff. It was great. I think the cheesesteak was one of the best things I've had.
Well, that was you, the cheesesteak guy. You're the cheesesteak guy. Oh, it makes sense.
That is a running joke. The new joke now is that if anyone ever wants a picture or an autograph, I don't know whether it's for the 10 years of my commitment to this game or because I've eaten a cheesesteak. I'll never know unless they tell me why they want a picture or a signature or whatever.
All publicity is good publicity, right?
That's true. That's true.
We were in the hotel.
I had the... Go on.
No, we were in the hotel and I explained to Harriet about how everybody was asking, are you the Philly cheesesteak guy? And then Harriet was genuinely like, oh, bless him. He's worked so hard on his videos for so long.
The best interaction was someone going, "Are you that guy?" And I was like, "Yes, that's me." And then he went, "Cheesesteak guy." I was like, "Oh,
cheesesteak guy."
And then next to me, someone went, "Are you British? Tuesday, innit?" And they just started cracking themselves up. I was like, "Right, I've got to get out of here."
Are you allowed to reveal what unique item you signed across the weekend, Joe?
No.
Story for another time.
That's unlocked on Patreon. That
Scout's honour. Always be prepared. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
Always keep a Sharpie on you. Anyway, Rab, you like I said, you were changing diapers. Actually, you were on holiday as always. I
was on holiday. Yeah. No, as always. Yeah. The thing is, Alex always thinks I'm on holiday, and I always think Alex
always
is on
fixed.
holiday.
You are definitely always on holiday.
No, it's you.
You are.
Have you caught? Did you catch any of the weekend?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. No, I caught up a lot as well when I came back. Taking a 7-month-old on holiday is a new experience for anybody out there.
Doesn't cost any money.
Enjoy your holidays as much as you can before, because it's not a holiday anymore.
Was it that bad?
No, some parts of it was great. Some parts of it not so great.
I'm gonna play this back to Nelly one day.
Now that you have your own kid as well, when you get on an aeroplane, you're just please don't cry. You're just praying because you know how annoying it is somebody else. But thankfully, she was actually all right. And Harriet's a nervous flyer, but Nell was actually loving it. We had a bit of turbulence. We landed quite hard, and she was cracking up. It's great.
Cracking up.
But it was hot there, mind. We went to Rhodes. We go there almost every year at this point. And me and Harriet had to go there to plan the wedding stuff as well, which was exciting. But we go there usually in June and September because we got loads of kids with us in the family. And we go at that time because it kind of skips the really hot weather seasons. Because in July and August it can get to like 36, 38. And it was 34 all week. And I was just sweating. I think I lost about 5 stone. Honestly, it was horrible. Did you know, no, because I wear like factor 100. I like put glue all over myself. Basically, it's just glue. So they all because Harriet's family all take the mick out of me for being like quite sensitive, and I'm like, oh, where's the factor 50? And they're like rubbing the kids in like factor 15, and I'm just like, but no, I'm proper white. like my skin just like sees the sun and it goes red. I remember one time when me and Joe were in Tenerife and we were both on the lazy river complaining about how we're going to burn now, and we were both red, and then we just chilled by the wave machine thing. We got battered. No, it was great. But overall, no. It was a good holiday. Came back fresh and repaired. Looking forward to now the next season, and glad to see that a lot of cups and challenges are now being uploaded for July and August, which is great. Love to sink my teeth into that. And Harry, if you are listening, I'm going for my Wheels invite next year. So there, have that. Next.
There you go. Right. So back to watching the NAIC experience then. The IC is you've seen an IC before. Anything that stood out for you?
Well, you were in it.
Didn't watch anything.
Great. No. No, it was good. No, I mean, we always talk about it. We love the variety that the format has at the moment, and it really did show on that stream, which was great. There were some really good matchups, and it fortunately we were able to see quite a lot of different decks being displayed, but different strategies as well with that. We were fortunate just enough to see Stefan Ivanov Sorowak Dragapult, which was great, like you said, but also got to see like the Marnie's Grimsnarl, which had a lot of hype going into it. We even saw Sarah Ledge, Ross Hawthorne as always bringing the spice, and then we saw Ethan's Typhlosion, we saw Spidops, we saw a bit of everything, which was great to see, but a lot of the usual suspects as we imagined as well, the Gardevoirs, the Dragapults, and then no, it was great, and it gets bigger and better every year. The opening ceremony was something to behold as well.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, it was good.
Do you like the Mardi Gras?
I mean, I like how they stay on theme. It's easy enough to put like a rock band up, right? It's easy to do that and put like a little sing song, but it's something else to prepare like a whole different.
You complaining about EUIC? Isn't that all we had?
No, it wasn't. It's a bit of difference into it. It's good. But no, I mean, I'm watching it, and especially now working behind the scenes, you appreciate it that bit more because you realise how much work goes into it. Because before I did commentary, I just thought it was like a couple of people on the laptop, and then come behind the scenes, it was just like it's obviously a whole professional outfit and everything, and I was completely naive into it. But for these bigger events, there's so much hard graft that goes into it. So like I said, you kind of appreciate it that bit more, and when it goes off on a good note like that, it's even better.
Yeah, fair. I mean, the whole Mardi Gras was a pretty cool fan experience. I think if the UK equivalent of the same day is Pancake Day, so I don't know what we could do. I think it is Shrove Tuesday, from what I remember.
I forgot to ask you guys as well. There's a really good World War II military museum in New Orleans. It's like world renowned. I don't know if you guys got to go, but I really want to go one day. Looks great.
Haven't done it.
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
They turned up late, didn't they? I'd prefer some of the European ones myself.
Topical. That's topical.
I prefer the Polish ones, to be honest.
Oh boy.
No, the reason I got reminded of that, I watched this the Eating with History, or History Eats, or something like that.
You
Great
do
YouTube.
watch some absolute dribble, don't you?
Well, the funny thing is between, like, for the viewers back home, I sometimes accidentally stay logged into the Spill YouTube, so these two can see all of my history, and sometimes it gets quite wild.
It is wild.
But no,
I've certainly seen some wild histories in my day.
I got reminded of it because this guy made meat pie with spam and potatoes, and he was on about.
And where's the link to World War II museum?
Because that's what they would eat.
The ration meal.
Okay.
Then, But yeah, no, overall though, good week.
Good week.
But
good week. Good week.
Dad, you commentated though.
I did.
As one of us always does at some point.
I mean, I had a great time. Second IC of the season, so very fortunate to be in the position that I was. A different partner in crime this time, so I was partnered with Shay, and it's it's always a bit crazy when you're having to sit beside a guy who has 18 different outfits, dresses with sparkles, and shines more than the stage. And
I was trying to see which character he was. I was trying to see what he was in the opening ceremony, actually.
Didn't you see him dance?
I think he was. Yeah. I think he was the jester dancing.
Just pops out with the mic. I'm here.
He had that kind of peacock kind of thing that was flowing behind him. And he was great with his outfits, and it was a great time. Like Joe, last year I was in New Orleans as well. I did the whole traveling around, eating a lot of food, sightseeing Bourbon Street. I did Bourbon Street again anyway. It didn't really stop me. So that was a great time to catch up, because I mean every Pokemon player was literally out on Saturday night, and they just congregated by this bar. Can't even remember what it's called. Joe probably does.
Can't remember a thing, mate.
And it was just literally like you couldn't move at that when you get to like this cohort of Pokemon players. It was just barricaded, and then I'll just catch a random person. I'll see like Hunter Butler go past, or Maze would suddenly appear because he's 8 foot tall and it'd be easy to catch him. So that was always a good time. But yeah, the tournament itself was fantastic. There was 3 pairings, so we got to do sort of 3 rounds each day, and then eventually I had the chance to do on Championship Sunday I got to do the seniors finals, which was again another experience and a whole story in its own right. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. It was the first time getting a chance to work abroad. Don't know how I feel about the flight and the journey, because it is a long way after all. Especially if you're sitting in those pauper economy seats.
You're connecting as well,
light,
right?
Sort me out. No, direct out. So it was actually
Direct
not too
out.
bad. And then,
But it was
but on the way
home.
back, on the way back, because it's like kind of like a stormy week in New Orleans, where every flight was getting delayed and all this and that. Like everyone I've heard was like their flights are getting messed up. My flight was delayed whilst I was at the airport, like an hour, and I only had like an hour and a half to connect at my next, in Dallas.
No chance.
So I was like shitting bricks the whole time. I was like, I just want to get home. I can't be asked for this anymore. Got to Dallas. I had like 20 minutes because obviously they closed. It's like it was leaving at 10:59. I got there like 9, not almost 10. Wait, hang on. 10:59. Got there about 10:30. So you have to get on there before like it even tries to go. So it's like you're probably aiming like 10:45 or something like that. But yeah, it was just nuts. I just about made it.
You connected at Dallas.
Yeah.
So you went like. How long was your flight home? Sorry, you went back on yourself to go.
Like 9 hours. 8-9 hours.
Because the plane wouldn't have gone west, would it? It would have gone east. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't bloody know. It took in total. It should have taken me like 12 hours or so, or maybe a bit less.
That seems so short. I don't know.
I guess it's just get to a major airport and then get the flight. But it was the last flight back to Heathrow that night. If I missed it, I would have been stuck in Dallas. I probably wouldn't mind it because I wouldn't have to go back to work. But yeah, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, great time. Now I'm tired. Me and Joe are shattered. It's now too hot. Can't do anything.
It's way
And
too
then I was messaging you both on Tuesday. We're still on for Thursday, yeah?
Yeah, well,
yeah.
So is everyone else's podcast is going out. We've got to get ours out too, right?
We've got it.
Right.
We got to
Go on. One last little quip from you then. Go on, say something.
Satisfy the listeners. We've got to.
Satisfy the listeners.
So we're right.
There's literally tens of people queuing up.
There's people out there right now saying. There's people out there right
true.
now thinking, I cannot wait for tomorrow's Spill the TCG podcast. There's somebody.
There's somebody out there. I did get a few people come up and say like, yeah, enjoyed the pod as per. It's always nice to hear.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just like, oh yeah, the Spill the TCG guy, not the cheesesteak guy. So it's all fine.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake. You didn't try cheesecake as well, Joe? Was that?
No, I wish I did.
Is there a cheesecake factory in New Orleans?
No,
Probably.
I didn't. If there is, I don't know. Right, let's actually move on, eh? Let's go. Let's start looking and breaking down a bit of this NAIC. It was obviously the biggest tournament of the year. 3,700, 800 players. which was kind of crazy in its own right. I think it was like was it 4,800 over across all the divisions.
Yep.
So really, really crazy. Benjamin, I don't know what you have up right now. I'm assuming it's day one meta.
Yeah, I'll go with day one conversion. Day one
conversion, is it?
Day one conversion. They also made their deck list, so they're all 100%. Raging Bolt first. Are you
going grouping ons or off?
Oh no, I'm going off. Do you want me to go groupings
on?
Off. Should I go groupings on?
The only thing to bear in mind if you are not grouping is that Dragapult was still just the most popular at 16.19% if you bunch them up.
Sure.
Okay. And that's literally all of them.
And that's literally all of them.
Yeah,
so probably, yeah. Otherwise, stay on.
Okay, fine. 16% of the decks they had a Dragapult in it. That's it.
Right, yeah. But we're going variant grouping off because there was, I think when we were going through deck lists, and I pointed this out to like Chip and Puka, but your deck initially, Joe, came under Zoroark. Rather than
and so did Stefan's.
Yeah, so did Stefan's.
So because the search, the search function included, as long as there's Zoroark and Reshiram, it was called a Zoroark deck. Essentially, is what I imagined that Arcanine had.
No, because I think
it's normally counts. So they would have said if there's 2-2.
I think if it has at least 2 EX. It counts as a Zoroark list because the Gardevoir that played the 2-1 Zoroark came up as Gardevoir.
But it didn't play Reshiram.
Oh yeah, good point.
Who knows? We're guessing here when we're not.
I'm guessing.
We don't work
Arcanine,
right?
Yeah.
It's either like the 2 Zoroark EX and the Reshiram, or just the 2 Zoroark EX.
Right.
But yeah, there were some nuances there. We tried to fix a couple of them that we knew of, but we aren't able to always. Right. But that's why we're using labs.limitless.tcg.com, whatever it is,
most accurate.
Right. They're frothing at the mouth to know what was the top deck.
Certainly frothing.
Frothing. I said frothing. Right. Raging Bolt 16.
Because what's next, you clown?
Raging Bolt 16%. Grimmsnarl Frostlass, the newcomer, 12%.
Oh. Yeah, frothing. I get it.
Oh yes. Gardevoir at 10.65%. Then Joltik Box 8. Then Dragapult's Dusknoir coming in as the most popular variant of Dragapult with 6.7, but only just behind is Dragapult Zard at 6.2. I'll stop there. But the next 5 in no particular order. Well, I am saying. Flareon Noctowl. Flareon Noctowl. I realised how stupid that was when. I realised how stupid that was when I presented this.
Sorry. Alex, why do we let him do this?
Because we get moments like this.
Yeah.
This is exactly why we do it.
Oh my god.
Right.
What was 18th most popular? Go on.
Yeah. But at the same time, tell us in no particular order, please.
Right. Flareon Noctowl, Goldingo Dragapult, Cynthia's Garchomp, and then Ethan's Typhlosion. I believe that's 10. 1, 2,
yeah, well,
3.
and we're going to say like it was Ethan's Typhlosion that was sub 2% at that point.
Oh, that's
right?
that's 11th. That's 11th.
Sorry. 11th.
Sorry.
Right,
that's
fine.
the top 11.
Okay. Thanks for that. In any order, was it? Right. Okay.
No, that's in order. That's in order.
Yeah, obviously, as we kind of mentioned, if we grouped it up, Dragapult will be higher at 16.19%, but it's more interesting when we start splitting it because we had done a tier list after all. We're speaking about the different Dragapult lists. Benjamin, let's go with you since obviously you're a core member of as our SME, all of this knowledge and information.
So much.
How did you feel about this? pillar of the broadcast.
Well, I was surprised that so many people took Grimmsnarl in that many numbers. Being that it was a new archetype.
What did we anticipate for?
Well, you anticipated it. I didn't anticipate it. You anticipated.
Oh, you thought it'd be a lot less?
I didn't think it'd be a lot less. But I didn't think it'd be that high. I didn't think it would be upper 10%.
Huh.
I just didn't
Fair
think
enough.
it would be.
Okay. So you
But
thought
then again,
because
because Dragapult is so, kind of in its own, it's in different parts. I guess it would be still in the top 3. But I would have thought Gardevoir would have been more popular than Grimmsnarl.
That's fair.
interesting case.
Raging Bolt 16% though. That is so high considering that there's another kind of aggressive archetype in the top 5 with Joltik Box. That's also another point. Because 16% is high. That is very high for this type of deck, especially when, like I just said, in only 4th place with 8% is Joltik Box.
Is that the highest we've ever seen Raging Bolt, Joe?
I think so.
Well, I don't think it's the highest ever, but it's definitely up there. I think it's I think it's higher than anything in Journey. I think maybe in Journey it got to 15 before. But I think it's up there.
The only explanation
I feel like for Worlds last year it was really popular. Like that and Drago were really popular.
The only explanation I can think of is because it feels like it possibly feels like a points safe deck. It feels like you probably won't make if you're not making day 2 either. At least you're making the 5-3-1
deck. Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? It's something that you can take and at least get a positive record.
It's a weird one because I feel like a lot of these decks you probably could, right? Gardevoir, you're only Gardevoir you're only facing like 12% of the decks that really you are fairly worried about in Grimmsnarl because it's just an annoying deck to play against unless you build your deck to kind of handle its generally linear gameplay. Joltik Box probably I'm quite surprised on its like probably play rate. I think it's that similar the simplicity is a lot easier than something like a Raging Bolt, so probably still I guess at that 8.86% is fine. Dragapult again, it's always been a very good deck, right? We say it on broadcast a lot about how great Phantom Dive is. I think any of these decks all had a shout to really kind of perform this weekend.
I just think with Raging Bolt, it's consistent. It doesn't have a good matchup into some of the top decks, but you at least have a positive into everything else. And in this type of tournament where everybody's still trying to make even top 1,000 or top 500, I feel like it's actually an alright pick. Because if you play 9 rounds and only face 2 or 3 of these top decks, you feel like, okay, that's fine, but I'm getting the points that I need. I'm not necessarily worried about making day 2 for this specific tournament. So I can see why that's my theory anyway. But
I was a little surprised by how popular Bolt was. I mean it's Bolt, so it was never going to be unpopular, but I do think it on average lost more than it gained from the new set. Like I feel like Baby Bolt is far worse in a World of Shaman. I think Watchtower can scam, and like sure you pick up Grimmsnarl as like a pretty good matchup, but I don't think it's like so good that you completely run away with it.
it will never. I know one made top cut, but you'll never. It would be a surprise to take a big accomplishment with this deck because of Gardevoir and because of the different threats with Dragapult and Zard. But I don't know. I just thought I can see why it was popular. Just because I feel like it's a safe pick. I feel like if you don't know what to play, you play Raging Bolt. I think it's just one of those sorts of decks.
Yeah, fair enough.
You need a lot of reps with any of the stage 2s, I think. Maybe not Grimmsnarl because it does it all for you. But I feel like the Guardian, the Pult, you need to have a lot of reps in.
Yeah. Agreed.
Whereas Bolt, you can just lock in.
Yeah, simple enough. Dragapult, let's just quickly touch on the Dragapult decks then, because we probably like put them in a tier list, probably quite similar to how their play rate actually was. And obviously we're going to discuss it a little bit more.
I think we anticipated the mass sort of exodus of straight Pults for the most part. We more or less said the same thing, thinking that Zard was the Guardy balance and annoying for Grimmsnarl and how they map their prizes, and Dust Noir just gives you stopping power into both those matchups. So I think generally the sentiment was going into the tournament that the Straight Pult was the lesser build, and obviously Tord did phenomenally with a straight build, and there was another one in Top Cut that was just a 1/1 Dusk Clops package.
Yeah.
But generally, the top 16 did reflect a lot of Dragazard and Dragadusk, and the top 32 as well.
Top 32 was massive with a number of
Yeah.
the other
So,
more higher played Dragapults, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So Dragapult still had a phenomenal tournament, even though it didn't make only one in top 4, right? And the Guardies still beat out the others, I suppose, in Top Cut. But I still feel like Dragapult is probably up there as the strongest deck.
Would you
just want to put in it as the question?
Yeah, after Tord's performance, would you say Slowpoke isn't quite as dead as we thought? Say dead, but
I mean, clearly not, right? Clearly, it's not as dead as we thought. Tord's list didn't really have much that sort of blew me away either. It's like good old-fashioned Tord that I can be on board with, where he just gets into games and says that he's GOAT. I feel like Neo Upper was clearly the best A-spec for the tournament because of how many in top 16 all played it. And I think the big deal is that you can float attachments to Monkey a little bit easier by having a 1 energy attachment drop on a Dragapult, so that you can actually weave in Monkey when you're facing the Grims, when you're facing those mirrors, and even Guardy to an extent. So I think Neo Upper proved itself to be really quite solid. And to be fair, the Stamp does get a little less value when the stage 2s Budu each other off until they completely board wipe the opponent, and a Stamp won't recover them from those spots. Like if there's a Grimstar staring at you, they don't need cards in hand. If it's a Dragapult, they've already got a Dragapult established and they already have a Recon. If it's Gardevoir, they already have the board. So against the other stage 2s, Stamp is bad. So Neo Upper being a great way for you to be proactive with Gust, and also surprise factor, to be fair. When you face the aggressive decks and they've gusted or baby bolted the one cloak with 1 energy attachment, they're not expecting anything coming back their way. So just the surprise factor of Neo Upper, and even Crystal to an extent that was in Evenoff's list, having that surprise when most people would expect to Stamp and are already playing their prize, they're choosing not to take prizes to be afraid of Stamp already. You get the value of Stamp without even playing it in your deck. So I think some of the very best Pults, the best performing Pults, all went Neo, and I think got a lot of value from that.
Okay.
I think they only just saw that in this tournament they needed to be on the front foot rather than feeling safer with maybe the Stamp or the box.
I do think, you do have to be a bit faster against the Grim, because if you give them too much time, they just have Frost Last Math really going mental. So you do need to just come at them as quickly as possible with Neo.
Agreed.
Okay. I think we've covered a good chunk of it. Benjamin, how about you tell us in no particular order how our day 2 lined up?
So day 2, Raging Bolt stuck at the top places with 16.92%, then Gardevoir overtaking Grimmsnarl at 14, then Grimmsnarl at 13 then as well, then Dragapult Zard at 10, then Dragapult Dusknoir at 7.4%, and then the next 5 making our top 10: Flareon, Noctowl, Joltik Box, Goldingo, Dragapult, Straight Dragapult, and Goldengo Dragapult. I believe they did the same apart from... No, I believe they also did the same apart from some shifting.
Joltik had a dip.
Joltik Box fell off. Yeah.
Joltik had a dip. No, sorry, I was on about the same top 10 decks. But yeah, there's definitely a shift there.
Right.
Dragapult Zard shot up. So did Dragapult Dusk, as you can imagine.
Whilst you're at it, whilst me and Joe are thinking about this, did you look at the conversion at all?
I can look at the conversion now. So the conversion...
Just maybe do it by the day 2, the number of day 2s, and then look at the conversion percentage of that.
So Raging Bolt 10.8%, then Gardevoir 14.32%, Grimmsnarl 11%, Dragapult Zard 16.8%, which is the highest of all decks. Then Dragapult
of the top decks.
Of the top decks, sorry. Yeah,
of the top 10.
Sorry. Yeah, of the top 10. Then Dragapult Dusknoir 11, Flareon Noctowl 13, Joltik Box 7.
That's really poor.
11.
That's a really
poor. Straight Dragapult 14.8, and then Goldengo Dragapult at only 5.36%, which is atrocious.
Can you quickly highlight the one just under Goldengo Dragapult as well? I think that's...
Toad Scroll Toadscroll. 37 entered the tournament. 7 came out and played the Saturday, the day 2, with an 18.92% conversion rate, which is
just outside our top 10, I think, in like 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
Again, no real surprises other than, I mean, maybe it's not even other than anything, right? It feels like these are the top 10 decks. These are pretty well performing. Jolted Box and Golden Go are not the most best converting decks, let's say, from day 1 to day 2.
Yeah.
But Dragapult Charizard, why is Dragapult Charizard, Benjamin, why was its conversion so high?
Well, I think it has a lot to offer in this meta, and I think in quite a varied one at that, with, there are so many decks that people can play. I mean, we're going on the top 10 here, and they're all very playable, as you mentioned there, and I think Dragapult Zard is very flexible. And I think somebody who can pilot it well is always going to do well. We've seen that time and time again, and especially in history where it's had this little bit of a cult following. You can kind of always see the Dragapult Zard players in day 2, and sometimes making some really good results. And I feel like people have had a lot more time to refine the way they play and their lists. So yeah, it's no surprise to me as to why it's got quite a good result into day 2, and it's got quite a good record as well in day 2. But yeah, no surprises from me. I think for me it was the battle of the Dragapults, which variant was going to come out on top. I think a couple of weeks ago we said that Dragapult Duskmar was our top variant, I believe, from memory. But Dragazard wasn't too behind that. It's just a good deck, and it's a deck that has to be piloted well. That's one thing I will say. You have to know what you have to know what you're doing to play it. It's not a deck that you can just pick up. So with those sorts of decks, you're always gonna have good results, I suppose. But if it was played as masses, you'd have a very different result. His conversion would be atrocious. But
I mean, there was a good chunk of them. I mean, you're right in terms of it seems to like have actually a decent meta game field, right?
Yeah.
It's good into Raging Bolt mostly. If you look at the win matchups and win percentages, it's only negative.
Grim.
Bad negative is Grimmsnarl.
That's what put me off the deck.
Yeah, you're still heavily
which is really sad. Yeah, because it's such a good deck otherwise. Yeah.
But again, you got to factor that in, and that's probably why a lot of players brought it. If you're factoring just a quote-unquote one bad matchup in a similar way if you brought Gardevoir to the tournament, but you're also good into Raging Bolts, you're good into Gardevoir, which were the other sort of two sort of most played decks, you're generally going to have a good time as long as you're not fighting through the weeds and against the, I don't know, Cerulages and I don't know, Zoroark, which is apparently 30%.
Funnily enough,
it actually is a very bad matchup. We saw that on stream.
Yeah. I actually think Dragazard is pretty favoured into Zoro, but it's just how you choose to play it. You just have to let Zoro get enough prizes ahead without affecting them. Like, you can't play as a head against Zoro, I think, against them. You just have to let them take prizes and let one Zard take 4. It's like pretty simple, actually, I think. It just depends how you play it. I played that a lot in an air. I played 10 games of that in an airport after Portland, and I was like, yeah, okay, I know what to do now.
Is it just because of INO spam? And then just Burning Darkness?
No, it's just they have no way to beat a Charizard once you're KOing with Charizard.
Yeah.
Maybe the matchup you showed, was it Shinoi's list? Because I do think Rigid Band makes it much harder. Yeah, I think maybe the Rigid Band is a differential that I'm not factoring in. But
because it's the main concern is that when your Zards can't one-hit KO a Zoroark, it's returning KO with powerful rage.
Yeah.
But and if you can limit that anyway. At any opportunity. But I get your sentiment.
You just have to hit with a Dragapult with no Charizard in play. You just have to have Charmeleon, Charmander, and whatever. Yeah, anyway, I played that matchup a lot.
He never really got the Charmeleons properly going. So
one interesting element. I also played a thicker Zard. Anyway, I'm getting really off track now. But Dragazard, interestingly, has a worse Grimmsnarl matchup than Gardevoir into Grimmsnarl, which is really interesting from the meta data there, because you wouldn't think that on the surface.
What? Sorry.
But
Gardevoir has a better matchup in some...
Grimmsnarl
from the
against
matchup data,
Dragazard does, which is quite interesting.
I think it's probably like with Gardevoir, there's almost like plays you can kind of make around Frostlass and Monkey for the moment. Yeah. And you have like heavy Monkey Dories, which you can kind of fling stuff back over, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a Monkey.
Dragon Ball Charizard, you are just...
Is it just the single prize element?
Dracloaking the whole time.
Is it the single prize element as well?
Not really. I don't think you can really use Scream. Like, you can Scream Tail maybe the Frostlass or something like that, and you can Scream Tail the monkeys, but you can't damage yourself too much because you'll just get insta punished.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Yeah, I think we can probably end it there for the meta game. We brought it down through day 1 into day 2. It was like 380, 90 players or whatever it was, and then we hit a top 15 asymmetric top cut, which is probably one of the largest ones we've had, or towards the upper ends of what we've had. So I'm hoping, Benjamin, you have that ready as well.
Any order?
Yeah, whatever order.
Any order.
Doesn't matter.
Any order. Isaiah Pradner. No, I can whittle the decks off for sure.
Yeah. You just.
So we have 3. Go on.
No, go ahead. You do.
Yeah, no, I will. 3 Gardevoir. 2 straight Dragapults, 1 Toedscruel, 1 Marley's Grimmsnarl, 1 Enzorwak, 2 Dragapult Dusknoir, 3 Dragapult Zard, 1 Flareon, and 1 Raging Bolt. Yeah, interesting.
I think we should start on the topic that everyone wants to talk about first. Ray Chen once again running it back with Toedscruel, was our number 1 seed heading into the top cut, the asymmetric top cut. So did not have to play that extra round to try and get into top 8, which is kind of cool. Got to see them on stream, piloting it perfect. I mean, at the same time, I think just the deck itself, we saw it very early on in round 1 against Raz. And I don't know, we probably got one of the first memes of the tournament straight away when Raz immediately, top deck boss and played an Arvin instead of the boss for game and realised. So that was unfortunate for Raz. But Toedscruel, we did say it should be sticking around because of the kind of matchups it has and the annoyance of its abilities. Is it a meta deck? Is it still just off the cuff still? What are we thinking?
I'm more and more... I mean, it's another great streak from Ray, who clearly knows how to play the deck better than anyone. But also, you look at the matchup spread and farming the Dragapults until... I mean, lost to Nucci and lost to Tord. We saw how unfortunate the game against Tord was. But beating a lot of other Dragapults, beat a couple Raging Bolt again, even though Ray said themselves it wasn't that good of a matchup. Not having to face a single Gardevoir may be a good thing, I would imagine. It's really down to if you can grief with blocking Night Stretcher, but I don't think that's that good. But I do think there's no reason why we can't keep rocking this. It's fast. It has a ton of draw power. So typically you expect to be on the front foot, and then you have 2 abilities which really are annoying. They make Dragapult a bang average attacker, and Toedscruel can grief and again get free wins. There was a Golden Go round 1 that they faced, and that was clear. That's a freebie, and you get other freebies just from Slime Mold as well. So I think low-key it's pretty good. You charge through the Grim, you grief Golden Go. You actually have a lot of freebie here. So the most astonishing thing was round 3, Ray beat Ethan's Typhlosion. Now I don't know how that's happening, but apart from that, very cool.
I mean, there's not a lot of data to go off because there's only 37 players that took it to NAIC. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're having generally a more positive time into 2 out of the top 4 decks, I guess taking away Gardevoir and Raging Bolt, and you're just facing those as you said, that the run from Ray is actually ridiculous. I didn't even realize what
their run was really good.
of
Some of the names on there.
Nine Dragapults back to, like in a row, or 8, something like that. I don't know.
I mean, there was in there and a tie, but still.
They were 10-0 at one point, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
But congratulations to Ray for that run. I believe was able to get enough points for the invite as well, going into top 8, going all the way to top 8. But
astonishing.
I think may have ended like 740, and that's basically 2 major runs, right? I don't know.
I think I officially can't doubt the deck anymore. I have to believe it's a real thing.
I've only just started playing it. I did lose to an Ethan's Mag Cargo on the ladder.
I'll immediately turned it off.
I'll report back with more later, I'm sure.
If Ray's run shows anything, it's that you've got to get through the rest of the decks before you get to the Dragapults, and then as soon as you get there, it's actually all right. But
imagine the smile on her face when she's beating an Ethan's Typhlosion round 3. That is insane.
Yeah. No, fair play.
I mean, like just kind of thinking the actual results now. 3 Dragazards, actually all the Dragazards fell in the asymmetric top cut.
Yeah.
I don't actually have it here what the matchups were necessarily, but alongside them were a Dragadusk, a Flareon, the Raging Bolt as well, or a couple of Dragapult Duskmars, which left us with Dragapult, straight Dragapult, Enzoroark, Grimmsnarl Frostas, Toedscruel, Gardevoir, straight Dragapult, Gardevoir really sort of rising to the top, but we kind of mentioned it already. Really it's a deck we definitely did not write it off, because we all said yes, it's got a bad matchup, but it can handle the rest. And then when you're also playing and testing and finding a way around things like Grimmsnarl, you rise to the top, right?
Yeah.
I think we see that with Radner's list, alongside other players who played it as well, Emery Chow, and maybe a couple of others. I didn't exactly get a chance to look at others, but Isaiah did best Piper in top 8, I believe. Mm-hmm. So it goes to show you with a little bit of testing into a bad matchup, you can actually figure it out and be absolutely
not only
fine.
that, he beat Piper, he beat Ian Robb. I think he went 4-0 against Grimm throughout the tournament.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Which is so nuts. Like, clearly... So I got to speak to Bradner while he was holding his trophy at the airport on the way home. And it's really interesting listening to his testing process with Henry and like how Henry came up with the Turbo Energize. They would essentially, their big issue was they needed a Budu-proof answer to just like stop the flow of Frostless Budu Monkey like swinging the damage all back at them. Mm-hmm. So having a Arven searchable non-item that can get your monkey online quicker than theirs was kind of the big key, and you almost use their Frostless against them, which is nuts. A hilarious thing was they were trying at one point a Drift Blim that placed 8 counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon for 3 Psychic, which is a truly terrible card, but it evolves from Drift Blim, which was already in the deck. And the idea was you can monkey and place the 8 and take out your opponent's monkey once a turn, right, against the Grimm. But it's so funny to hear that like that process was like within their thought process, and clearly it seemed like and it's so obvious now that you think about it that like you go into testing NAIC saying Grimmsnarl is the worry, if Guardy can beat Grimm it's still the best deck in format. So just having that one objective in mind of like if we can still have a time into Grimm we're still the best deck in the room, and this one Turbo Energize to pull out these Darkness Energies for your quad monkey is like so strong. I'm sure there have been other rounds where just having the power board state of Curlier, Guardy, Monkey, and the E-Switch available is just like so grim for decks to play against. Like we've seen varied counts in different tournaments of how many Monkey and Dark. Like in recent times, Henry was down to just like 2 and 2, and we thought it was going the other way. But now bringing back the full 4 and the Energize shows that like you don't even need high damage output attackers because you can generate your own damage so much that even Miracle Force is a one-hit KO merchant when it has to be, and all this other stuff. So really, really sick idea, the Turbo Energize. I think it was ultimately Henry's idea, but the testing was done collectively. And I think we already said that Boss was like a good include in the deck anyway. And if you're going monkey route, you don't need the Drifloon necessarily either. So really, really clever idea. And like, it's also great to see that everyone can see just from labs that it does beat Grimmsnarl pretty confidently when you're a great player at this high level.
I was literally just double checking. So Henry Chow and Michael Davidson, I know they were all testing together as well. They all played. I just checked those three at the moment. They all played it. I think only Henry Chow took a loss to Grimmsnarl, and it was Piper.
That's nuts. How nuts is that? That and when you look at the overall field of Guardy, like the actual matchup data, even from day 2, which is generally like a high level, just not the right list, it's like a 40% for Guardy. So like it is seen as a bad matchup even at the high level, unless you're running this list essentially.
And that's probably being propped up by them, right?
Of course, they're great players, but also
a lower percentage.
Yeah. It would be lower, exactly.
Which is
that's so cool to see.
The list is awesome. Even having the energy switch back now as well. I know it kind of faded in a bit and then it faded out towards UIC this year, but yeah, Turbo Energize 4 Monkey, E-Switch, 4 Dark. I mean, it's obviously showing the value in Monkey now. We've gone from 2 to 3 to 4 Monkey Dory now. I think the 4 will definitely be here to stay. Yeah, great deck. And really happy to see him take a win as well. Because seeing him at Stockholm, you know, just how much he tests and how much he appreciates every win he gets. So, yeah, congratulations to Isaiah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is an opportunity now, before we get to anything else. Any standout lists, games? I think I'm just going to start because I had the pleasure of casting the top 4, which was Tord Reclove against Riley McKay. I think everyone basically tweeted about it immediately. Yeah. I was out on Bourbon Street, and I think I had about 10 people also stop me to ask me about it. I had Yoshiyuki also coming up to me and going and greeting me for the first time. He was like trying to his best in English to like explain how it was such a crazy play as well. But for those who haven't had the chance to watch it, it was a very long game. And don't get me wrong, this is Tord Reclove, what we're talking about still, and Riley piloting what were the two big decks of, you know, previous formats, as it were. But if you get a chance to watch Game 3, go into time, I'm there trying to explain like the back and forth, the tennis match we basically have going, and we have probably the biggest heads-up play that we've probably seen live on a stream game. And I didn't realize until you just saw Tord stretch over and reach the little dice on the right hand side, on the bottom of the screen, and he moved it to 3. And then all of a sudden, that completely, that nullified anything Tord could do. Because Riley takes the game into their turn. After 3 turns are played, there's no differences in prizes at that point. And Riley can then make his play and essentially win on that turn, right? Yeah. It was an incredible thing to watch. But yeah, I don't know if you guys caught a glimpse of it yet. Joe, I know you normally like to rewatch it back, but that's probably one because of the amount of people who tweeted about it, you probably just watched it, right, very quickly.
Yeah, very, very cool. It's as simple as highest odds is not me going ahead in prizes going on to my final turn of the game, which is like such a wild thing to think about, but when you know Tord's list is quad boss and Pheasantipity is some of his final draw on the board, you just have to hope that you're Ionoing away boss's orders and over those last few turns, and that's exactly how it played out. But just huge like Riley's made such a name for themselves, not just for making the finals of an international, but the fashion in which you've done so in order to beat Tord in the pressure cooker of a top 4. You know, it's so sick to see, and it's so easy for us to see it from that position. But it's so easy to look stupid as well. If you just pass and then Tord finds boss, you look like an absolute moron. But it's like, my goodness, what a great play the percentages decision to know exactly how to know the game within the game, you know? Very, very cool to see. What a great way to make a final.
It's impressive to see at that stage. I know you said pressure cooker, but it's so easy to just give into that pressure and do that attack, because, you know, it's just a great heads up play. But
I mean,
definitely deserve to make it after such an important play.
But because of all those pieces that went to the bottom of the deck, the jamming tower, the boss's orders that were towards the bottom, it's one of those where I even spent like 5-10 minutes talking to Andrew Hedrick. At the end of the Saturday, he was in the crowd watching it. He was obviously, everyone was like, I don't want to play, but there were still other routes that he could have gone down as well, which would have been just as good maybe, or depending on just how the top like 5-6 cards that Todd could kind of look at or go through, right? But yeah, I mean, like I said, it gave a fantastic spectacle for that moment. But yeah, any lists or other moments that you guys want to quickly call out as well?
One of the other Todd games was interesting with Mahone. That was a day one-er, and that was just like you see those two names together and you're like, oh, that's really cool. But I remember I didn't watch the whole game, but I remember looking at a glance the deficit of prizes, and then maybe I look 5 minutes later and the deficit's closing, and then I see 5 minutes later Mahone shaking a hand. So that was kind of interesting to see how just how Todd can wiggle out of these spots is very, very cool. So I that was one of the games that I want to look back on, because you see the two names, you're like, okay, this is going to be great for a round one stream. And again, the even off one was what I looked directly at, because I think the list is so cool. So those are some of the games that I was happy to look back on, but I'm going to do the lot, obviously, in my own time.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for Joe to slate me. I don't know any of the rounds that I was able to cast.
I don't know if we mentioned it as well, but Todd did beat Toad Scroll.
He did, yes, we did.
That was on stream. I mean, that was Ray low rolling, I think, more than anything else.
Which is, again, a bit of a shame, because Ray also beat Todd in Swiss, like a little bit earlier. But yeah, that's just
really
how
is,
Pokemon goes sometimes.
Yeah, it's as simple as, does Mycelium come online or not, right? Because the little schools only have 60 hit points, so they're vulnerable. It's a race for Todd to attack before an EX hits the board, a Toad EX. I feel like that's pretty much the long story short of it. Especially a straight pulp that can't like explode or do anything to like just take one off the board, Once it's there, it's there.
Yeah.
I think I mean, we've mentioned his name a couple of times. I mean, just before we even get to it, there was a Zoroark in top 8, which I don't think anyone really saw. Fairly straightforward, cuts the line of the Manitans, but then hits a decent matchup, plays the unique rigid bands to kind of protect some of those stage 1 Pokemon and Zoroarks from getting knocked out, so it can powerful rage. But we take Zoroark into the person who finished 17th, obviously did not quite enough points to maybe try and make his 4th NAIC finals, but Stefan Ivanov with the Dragapult Zoroark list. Again, utilizing that same package, Joe, that you played, but just saying, well, I have this big Dragapult EX, and I'm still gonna announce Phantom Dive, and I got more draw power for when I need it. And my bad matchup is Gardevoir, so let me smack some of them around with Zoroark instead.
Very cool idea. Way less clunky than a Dragazard, I think. Still doesn't have that same late game power, but you can draw your way out of spots. The E-Switch, again, great for Monkey, great for attacking with Zoro, because PP up can get Dark, Psychic, or Fire, right? So you can E-Switch to Dragapult. So you have the Crystal and you have E-Switch, so you can chain Pulse in the aggressive matchups. You can use that Zoro whenever you're on even prizes. Like, if you're going to even prizes with a Zoroark, that puts these other Stage 2s in such an annoying spot where their counter catchers aren't live. And I know we're looking at some of the top lists where there's like 4 counts of boss, but a lot of these Stage 2s will have 3 counter catcher, 2 boss. And suddenly they're on a spot where like you've just taken a Cloak out, and they have 2 boss to find in like a 25 card deck, and it's not always going to happen for them. So you can really just put people on the back foot with this, and it naturally balances that Guardy a little bit. Go on.
No, I love the 1 PP up 1 switch, because I can just imagine throughout his day 1 and day 2, people are just absolutely shocked by the plays you can make with it.
I mean, I think we saw it on stream. We saw him on stream actually get the ends PP up and energy switch off for an attack with Dragapult, which is again just so unique and cool to see.
I mean, it's easy to do with so much draw, right? You've got the Dracloaks, you've got the Zoroarks, you've got Fez. It's just you got
Arven finds the other piece.
For Arven, it's easy enough to do. So
what I find is really interesting as well is that like against the mirrors and against the Grims and whatnot, it's so quick that you're like starving for recon that it becomes this weird Iono blender for each other. So having the Zoroark in there to keep you topped up constantly has felt really good. So naturally, because I was already playing Blaziken, saw this, my jaw dropped, and I was like, this is just way better. I'm putting a lot of time into this. And like I said, with an air balloon instant upgrade over rescue board, I think this is another one I have my eye on for Worlds. And I do think maybe 2 E-Switch, 2 PP is also like so good that you might need to fit it. But admittedly, there's a lot of cuts had to be made. Like, you're only playing 2 Ultra Ball and 1 Jacq, and you might want more of those. So I think a little tinker with counts, and this is going to be another just like great deck, to be honest.
I think it's just bench space for me looking at this. Like, bench space management is just
It's why you have double
such
Turo.
a worry for me. You
Yeah,
do
the
have
double
double
Turo is a
Turo.
big-
You do have double Turo.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It means you can surprise people if they hit Zoro with no board space. You can still Turo and Resh, or you can Turo the Zoroark itself.
Even more surprised.
Yeah, and you can Turo Hawlucha, like stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. This is a really fun deck. I've really enjoyed the maybe 10 games I've had with it so far.
Sounds like you've had more games with it than Toadscrew, and that's disappointing. Anyway.
Yeah.
Other cool lists. I know there was a couple that we called out already. I mean, there's so many good players in this kind of top 32 as well. I mean, you do have the likes of Ruh already. I think they were probably playing the same list, right? In terms of the Energize. Yep, he was double checking. He beat his 2 Grimmsnarls. Lucas Singh played 1 Grimmsnarl. Ryuki Okada was 27th, right?
Yeah.
Someone who was looking to steal another invite.
390 players made day 2. So there are so many wacky and cool lists that you can see. I mean, my eyes stuck onto Iron Thorn's Cressel, obviously. That's a good
You looked
one.
quite far down, did you?
That made it, did it? I did keep an eye on that early. Yeah.
Ryuki played Tord's list. That's pretty cool.
Mm.
Or like 1 card off Tord's.
Yeah. It wasn't very different at all.
Jared Grimes
we had
played Festival Lead.
Yeah, that was Hydrapple. Sorry.
Now, I lost
go back
200
in.
MMR with that deck already. So probably the
Hydra-
worst abominate. Yeah, the worst. deck I've
Hydrapple
played
not
in a
doing
long
anything
time.
for you, is it?
Couldn't get there.
You couldn't get there.
Couldn't even get past Applin.
Couldn't get that far.
Couldn't get
I
past the
started
Applin.
Grookey about 5 times and instantly lost, so that's good.
Brilliant.
You want to try? You want to try Porygon, mate? That's what I'm on. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's like 35th Matthew Hubbard playing the Ogre Mask.
This is a sick
Ogre's
deck.
Mask, as I said.
Yeah, we can go
deck,
through this.
which is
I
pretty
represented that.
unique. Again, it's just power.
This is a funny. Yeah, this is like a owlless Terror Box. So it plays like somewhat between Terror Box and Toadscruel in a weird way.
It's just
Where
Ogre.
you have the aggressive T1 attack plays, and you have masks to try and help you get there. It's pretty cool that you have the 2 Terror Orb to try and like search the first Terror that then you squawk away to then mask into.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
This reminds me of the first builds coming out of Japan around Ogapon. Just plus 2
Yeah.
Lily's Clefairy. Just playing the mask and the Terror Orb package.
And now suddenly you're hitting 2 massive weaknesses as well. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very good.
Yeah, no, I
Pretty
like it. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Yoshi Tate's list, or just deck that he was playing. The whole
well.
seems really cool for me. The whole like unique
let me get
different
that up,
attackers. I really like the Ho engine, Ethan's Ho EX, Golden Flame, attach 2 basic fire energy from your hands.
It's a
and one of your
very
bench.
good basic.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then you just start like manipulating like energies around your board and attacking with a Durant EX. You know, this is.
I've already come up against this twice on ladder. Yosha was one of those sorts of players to bring a deck to a tournament, top cut in any capacity, and just everybody copies the deck. I remember back with Walls, it was exactly the same. But
Just imagine the feeling of sudden shearing, discarding the top card of your opponent's deck, and then Vendril crushing your opponent for a knockout.
It's genius.
Anyway,
certainly can.
but yeah, that was a cool deck. So lots of decks for people to go through. Go on, Benjamin. Give me one more, or Joe.
I was just gonna say that Ho-Oh Arm Rouge also gets way better for Worlds format because we get Balloon and we get Reshiram, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Well, I
Anything
mean, we can speak about. Well, I just want to mention Fabian's.
I know you want it.
Fabian's
Oh yeah.
Cynthia's Garchomp. We did speak about this briefly in the pod a couple of weeks ago. It's a lot of HP on that. It's quite a lot of health.
It's a
on
big
that
boy.
Garchomp. And there's
Certainly a
not
big boy.
much in format hitting it for weakness apart from maybe Toadscruel and
True.
couple of teal masks. But
Because you remove energy from yourself, so you don't have to worry about Ogapon.
certainly do.
A power weight keeps you out of range of a leaves. So
I mean, you with Monkey Dory, Dragapults are at best 3-shotting you if you can use your Monkey Dories effectively. So it's pretty cool. No, I mean it's neat.
Is great,
it's
right?
neat,
It's a
isn't
great
it?
engine.
Yeah,
Got a cool engine.
I can never remember the Rosa Raid ability.
cheer on to
30
glory.
more. Cheer on to glory. Great name. Great name.
70 HP buff is absurd.
That's so much HP. It's 400 HP. I mean, it's just crazy.
Your Gibble is 140 HP. Your Gabite 170. That's an EX.
I
right
Good
there.
luck Iron Handsing that.
As soon
See you later.
as soon as he posted this, I played it online and came up against Dragapult. I started 2 Gibble and 2 power weight. Scooped immediately. It's great.
Very good.
So I've been a cynic of this deck for a while, mostly because when I was playtesting it, the energy count is the thing that always makes me cringe, and I still think it makes me a little bit nervous.
4-3-2.
But I like the box idea, and Watchtower is the copium. Sometimes I can cheese the Bolt matchup, which is probably your highest tier bad matchup. So that's a cool like cheese route I think you have. The Petrol I don't love too much outside of like its additional copies towards box, I guess.
Oh, it's actually
I don't see
copies
what else
towards
it's really
evolution, right?
What, you would just Petrol TM Evo and take no...
If you have to.
No. It's exactly for box, right? It has to be. But is it better than gear? I don't know, maybe. Because you can still do it under...
It's extra added to box, but
then...
your tools are so important, right? Evolution and power weight. It's the main reason you play it. It's power weight, right? I guess.
Yeah. But you do have inbuilt draw with the Chomp. I don't know. Whenever I played this, I was like yearning for Crispin the entire game, and whenever I missed a turn attachment, I just felt so bad with the deck. So I still think it has a bit of issue here and there, but it's definitely much more playable than I initially gave it credit for in the way it's been built.
I like that there's no pressure to hit big, and you can afford to have 1 or 2 turns with just 1 attachment hit.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
the Crispin is great because you can attach to Monkey Dory with the Crispin. I don't know. I like it. I think it's a little bit of a pet deck, but it's got to be a bit more of a pet deck for Fabian to take as well. I see.
I mean,
I think he's off to Japan this weekend, so it'd be interesting.
he is.
To see
They are. They've had plenty of.
Is it expanded?
Travel troubles.
Or is it standard?
No, it's
Standard.
Worlds format. It's standard.
It's standard. Okay.
It's Pokemon It's Japan Nationals, right? I think it's there.
Yeah.
Quote, unquote.
This is an invite-only event.
He won't be playing this, would he? Probably not.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Who knows?
It'll be in his bag. It will be in his bag as long as it made it
Certainly
there.
will be. Certainly be in his deck box.
All right, I think that's enough of NAIC. But yeah, we'll move on to Championship Sunday because then we can actually talk about the finals and we can talk about some of these decks again, just a little bit more detail. But of course, that was day 1, day 2 NAIC. I just want to move us on because we're an hour and 5 minutes in. Like, god damn it, it's still too hot. Right, all 3 finals. Actually, that's all finals of all games is on Championship Sunday now. If anyone who hasn't experienced it before, we generally start with Pokemon Unite. Again, it's fantastic to have them on Championship Sunday as well. We then go into Pokemon Go, then go into TCG, and then we finally have the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is the VGC. Now, we're only going to really touch about TCG because that's all we really care about. The finals were some of the most interesting things that we've had in terms of storylines, right? We have had, I don't know if you hopefully have the graphic up, Benjamin, but for the juniors, we had a brother-sister combo, probably the 2 most marketable children in the Pokemon franchise we've ever seen, because one, they cosplay and they dress up, they had the rocket gear on, and it was probably the most cutest thing anyone's ever seen, because they've had like fantastic interviews, I think maybe in like previous regionals, and you know, it's just kind of like, oh, I think one of the interviews once was, oh, who do you think is going to win? And the little brother is saying his sister, and his sister's like, yes, me, I'm going to win. But that was a Dragapult Charizard mirror match, 58 cards or so, very cool to see. Annabelle won, so congratulations to them. I had the pleasure of the seniors final. The biggest story here, and it's only, you know, this is unheard of, apart from the fact that Pokemon Unite also completed this in the same day, was that Gabriel, who won the seniors final, had completed a Grand Slam of international championships. A 2023 world champion in London, if I'm not mistaken. This year has accumulated the maximum number of points any Pokemon player could possibly get. I think he's won pretty much all, if not
maxed out.
Yeah, most of his South Latin America or maybe Brazilian regionals. He's won LAIC, he's won EUIC, and he's won NAIC. And this was against the best 3 seniors in the US as well. So Justin Templar, Nathan Osakats, and then finally Omar Cortez, which is like incredible. Any thoughts or words on that? So just before we even move on to the Masters final, it's very, 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 very unlikely to be repeated, right? That Luminosity won the Pokemon Unite sort of Grand Slam in a similar fashion, and they are truly incredible. But having a trading card game player, where often, we can't say that there's favorites for tournaments, apart from in scenarios like this, where you're in a senior division and you see Gabriel's name and you go, actually, there are favorites. And that's unheard of because of the amount of variants that we do get in this trading card game.
Yeah, it's absolutely astonishing. Possibly unreplicatable. We're all terrified of him when he ages up. I mean, there are probably players on his level in the Masters division, but I do think that, like, he's likely to still go very, very far in every Masters division tournament that he enters. So, like, and some of the in-game play for the final, so sick. Like, first of all, he brought Charizard Pidgeot, which I know he has won an IC with already this season, but, like, in the day 1 field, how many people played Charizard? It was like 1% or less. So very much out of vogue pick, and a really clever list with Max Belt, which I don't think we've seen since Charizard first started, out.
For those
Picnic
mirror matches,
Basket. Yeah, Picnic Basket in there. Had Luminous plus Dark plus Monkey. The double Evo with a 2/2/2 Pidgeot. When have you seen a 2/2/2 line? Like, so many ways. Like, you can tell he's worked so hard just so that he can play Charizard. Does that make sense? I feel like he could do well with so many top-tier decks.
You're saying he played on hard mode? The challenge.
Like, yeah, he won. He Grand Slammed on hard mode, but, like, found a way to make Charizard not only competitive, but really, really strong, which is just so impressive, to be honest.
The game 2, the last game was just completely dominating as well. And you can see exactly how all the pieces came together in that game 2. It was just a complete wash, I think.
He lost game 2.
Yeah. Game 3. Game 3. I'm tired of it. Game 3.
I think the game 1 was the most impressive, where he powered up Fez, right? That was very cool. And it was like he spent the whole game gusting Clops, dealing with Clops, taking out Clops, and then, like, even used Fez to take out a Clops on a board that then Dragapult had to hit into Fez so that then he got a free Turo turn. Like, the game looked messy, but he was always navigating ways to find a freebie turn, essentially.
Yeah, it was always so scary to watch because, I mean, it was double Super Rod, right? And obviously, it took me, like, kind of, because we were sat at the lounge area, getting access to all these information is not so easy. We do have the paper list there. But, seeing 2 Super Rods is not the most common thing either as well, because once you use it the first time, when one Charizard goes down, you're like, well, you have to power up another Charizard, you have to keep going this way. Actually, we'll just use Fezandipity, we'll get rid of those Dust Clops because they're scary. But really, really fun seniors, and like I said, congratulations to Gabriel for completing that. I mean, if it wins the World Championship in the same season, I think then that is, quote unquote, like, that is the perfect season, right? That's all he's missing from.
I feel like if that happens, you know how you have silver border and text on the Worlds decks? They should do gold. Come on, I'm just saying. Just saying. They need to do that. They need to do it. Absolutely nuts.
Age is up in July, I guess. So we'll be able to compete against Masters players. If any is anything to go by, look, this kid's obviously going to do super well as well. Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me to be able to handle his own, as I say. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's plenty of Pokemon to come when we hit the new season. And then we get to the Masters final, which we've kind of semi-touched on a little bit. It was a Gardevoir mirror, another one for the ages, and I mean that by the time, not necessarily the ages, because it's lengthy. Oh boy, a lot of these rounds are lengthy. But Gardevoir mirror, very quickly. Was this something that was expected at this point? Well, not at this point, but before the tournament. Did we all think Gardevoir mirror could be the finals?
I thought Guardi would win before the tournament. I was advocating quite largely a couple of weeks ago.
He was,
but I don't.
He was.
I didn't think it would make a mirror.
Yeah.
But the thing is about these types of mirrors as well. Is a lot of people will kind of moan and groan. Oh, it's a Guardi mirror. It takes ages. All this, that, and the other. But I'm fascinated by them. I'm really intrigued by them, and especially with the differences in both of these lists. It's the intricacies that make it oh so important.
I thought both players drew so badly in the entire final that it made it so interesting as well. It feels like they were both in like white knuckle moments frequently because they were both just scrabbling around finding just about the best thing they could do, which made it so wild for such a long, like for 75 minutes you genuinely didn't know who was going to win the entire time because both were having such a tough time of things getting the game going, and the way the lists are built, it still makes it hard to close games in the mirror very often. So you're both doing a one prize creep the whole time and like trying to not give the opponent countercatcher, or the person who is on countercatcher needing to know when to go for the Guardi KO and that sort of stuff.
I'm trying to think back to like the game one. I think they both prized Screamtail. And
both
if you look at
Screamtail.
Isaiah's list, and I think he prized his other attacker, which you don't have to care about. It might have been Lily's Clefairy or something. But all he had then access to was Monkey Dories and Gardevoir, right?
Yes.
Riley obviously still has access to a bit more conventional list where he has Drifloons as another attacker as well. But often when you see in mirror matches, they are trying to swing away at each other's Monkey Dories, right? Once you gain control of the monkey board, then you're generally in a much better position. And it's quite intricate because they had to keep going and playing around these kind of Screamtails and so on, and then Shamans and things like that. But very, very interesting final. And I think we had Chip and Carl Sablehouse who cast over the final, and they enjoyed it. They loved watching, obviously, seeing Isaiah Bradner take down an NAIC. He's fallen short a little bit before. Finally picked up his regionals this season. Finally picked up an IC. So congratulations to him. Incredible.
So it's coming to him all at once now.
I know. It's like buses.
He's always had the right process. He's always had the right process. So
it's cemented the fact that him, alongside all these other very top tier players who practice and test and try and nail down the meta game together, just how great they are, right? But yeah, so lots to look forward to. See if he can carry that momentum from a regionals, from an IC win into the World Championship. So let's see. Another one to do, another direct invite to the Lost Zone, but we'll touch on that in a moment. Anything else, NAIC? Final thoughts? Otherwise, we're good. We'll move on.
Let's move on.
It was great.
All right. Okay, well, all the other information that seemed to come out at NAIC was a little bit of information around Worlds as well. So I think they released things like the Worlds Pikachu blush and things like that. But then there was, of course, the release of the Worlds Hub, which has kind of been there already, but more information has been slowly being kind of added to it over time. And I guess we've got some fantastic news. I mean, Joe's probably going to talk about it a lot more later as well. There's a lot of information on this hub, worlds.pokemon.com, that I'm sure Rab will have up at the same time. But if you start digging around deep in the trenches of the information, in the sort of fan experience, or competitive, I think it is fan experience and into broadcast, on the registration.pokemon.com, you get through there about maybe 5 clicks into the Worlds page. You finally get to know who our Worlds casters are. And Benjamin, would you like to do the honours?
Yeah, Chip Ritchie, Carl Sablehouse, Heggy, Shelby Boo, Kyle Puka Sukovic, Mike Ellis, Freya Pierce. And Joe Bernard.
And Joe
He's back.
He is
back.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about that news? I mean, finally being released, Mr. Joe Bennett.
Yeah, ecstatic. It's the first. I'll start with. So.
Would you like to thank your fans? Would you like to thank your co-hosts?
Thanks, everyone. Everyone who believed in me. This is the second time me having the privilege of doing the World Championships. The first time was in London, and 2 other prominent casters who are usually on the broadcast, Chip and Sablehouse, were both having kids at the time. So I feel like I've never really earned my place at Worlds, and that I had a home field advantage, and there were people who couldn't do it and dropped out. So it's amazing to be a part of it for the first time, where it feels like I don't know, maybe an earned thing for a while. So yeah, and I'm with a lot of great people who I'll be hanging out with the entire weekend, which is going to be awesome. And yeah, very happy. I didn't get an IC this season. It's the first time ever. And I normally would be very upset about that. And
well, I'm waiting for Joe.
Maybe still am. But, especially when certain casters get multiple. But no,
I didn't
very happy. I was pacified by hearing the news earlier, and yeah, genuinely very, very happy to be part of it. And I know a lot of other people on the broadcast are very happy to get their chance after a long time as well.
Absolutely. I think I speak on behalf of quite a few people, having spoken to them, across the weekend and over time as well. It's been long overdue to kind of get you back behind the desk at the World Championships. It's a great opportunity to showcase, the best of the best casters and so on. So having you back on is always a great thing. And obviously, as a friend, I'm happy as well.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, if you guys get a chance to check out the websites, so all the information is up on there. That's August the 15th until Sunday the 17th, where Joe Bernard will be live alongside a couple of other EU casters. So really paving the way for us, Ben. Maybe one day we'll be there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there clacking behind the desk last year. It's great. Not this year, but
Did indeed.
It's fine.
Next.
Glad not to be boiling hot sat behind the computer. It's fine.
I mean, I'm boiling hot right now in London, but
I know. Yeah, I'm hot now. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's Worlds, and on the topic of the World Championships, we've gotten to the end of the season. This NAIC was the last tournament, of course, that gave players the opportunity to qualify for the World Championships. It was either the newer editions where you can get a direct invitation by winning the tournament, or at ICs, I should say, a top 4 would give you the same berth of a direct invitation. Other than that, we've had this new top X system to look back on, I think now. This is basically a year onwards, from when we started to get some information filtered through about how our system would look like. Look, there's lots of conversation around online. I guess one of the first things I want to sort of just discuss with you guys is, how does it feel looking back at the system now? Is it the same sentiment that we had at the start? I think majority we were quite in the same boat around. Seems like a pretty cool system to have. We've had like ELO systems before where people are shuffling up and down. We're having potentially a more exclusive worlds, not something which, when we had the bar, it gave a lot of people a lot of opportunities to keep kind of striving for. Maybe sort of giving the chance for the best of the best. Any thoughts on this at the moment, boys? I mean, like I said, it's 1 year in. It doesn't look like it's going to go anytime soon. Ben, anything from your end? You've seen how some of your friends have been grinding through, right?
Yeah. I mean, I said at the start of the year that it's going to be a grind, and people will have to attend every event to try their best at qualifying for World Championships. Now, that's not technically true, because you can cut every regional technically and still make the points required and all your internationals, etc. But realistically, you need to attend every single one to better your chances at a better placement to get more points. And I think I don't know if people were slightly naive going into this year at how much the grind would actually take a toll. But, I think everybody shares the same sentiment that people want a more exclusive World Championships, and I still think that's the belief amongst the player base. But yeah, I there has to come a cutoff, right? There has to come a cutoff. I think top 125 is pretty reasonable. I think it was the last time I checked, it was around 700 points for EU for top 125, which is a good chunk of points compared to last year and even the year before that. I think the year before last was 350. Then it was 550 last year, right? Or 500. 500, and now it's 700. I know that's not a specific count, but 700 is the requirement this year. So, yeah.
Well, Joe, let me just give you a little bit more information before you reveal your views on it. As Ben said, it was 700. I believe it was 700 on the dot for EU, right? Where multiple people had hit the 700 point mark or 680. I can't remember which one US and EU is, but it's 680 or 700 where multiple people hitting that mark, getting to the top 125. Maybe it's a bit further down because of the direct invitations and so on. It meant, or currently means, that some people may be missing out because we have had information about there being a tiebreaker based on play points before. Things have been sort of not quite like officially confirmed, but it's kind of been mentioned in passing through. I think there was something even on like the streams, on the broadcast, or there's been stuff on the actual websites themselves. But does that play a factor in how we kind of view, the current system that we've got at the moment, or is it just an unfortunate circumstance? This is they said top X, it's top X. It doesn't matter if you've unfortunately might have less play points. I don't know. It's quite hard when you've got less play points and you've got more points. Is that a better performance to say that you're a better player? Maybe you should be higher. I don't know. Okay, this is the argument, right?
Because the argument was
thanks, Joe.
Less play.
I was gonna.
The argument was less. Sorry, I jumped in. The argument was less play points, right? Sorry, carry on.
No, I'm joking. I was just ribbing. But yeah.
So my. Can I talk or?
So Alex.
So ultimately I do think so. Every NAIC there's always an amount of bad beats, whether it was a top X or a bar. There was always people going into that tournament knowing they needed to hit X threshold or this, that, and the other. And so there's always going to be those raw emotions at the end of a season, no matter what the system is. I do think there's a fair sense of injustice if you have the right amount of points to have got there and not attending the World Championships. I do think that's something that had to have been plastered everywhere and as blatant as possible, so people knew that was the case. Because it's so easy to say that, like, I would have attended more challenges, leagues, this, that, and the other. And I understand why it's more and not less, even though less CP means you have a better ratio of
quote,
results or
better
whatever.
Performances, yeah.
In theory, yeah. But you can get play points for, like, pre-release and other stuff anyway, right? So, but I do see why they want to reward the dedicated player base. I think the system rewards the very best players and the good dedicated players, so that also like feeds into that aspect. And I also echo the fact that I like an exclusive worlds. It makes it a mega achievement for anyone who can get there. And as a player, like I started the season seeing top X knowing that I didn't want to chase an invite, thinking I was going to only attend 4 events or 4 majors. So I do think it makes it very clear for people, like, this is a year where I'm going to try really hard and go to 6-7 tournaments, or this is a year where I'm not going to, whether it's burnout or, I have study that year or work, whatever else, but I can still enjoy every individual event that I go to because of the chance I high roll and get into top 4 in IC or win an event or whatever. So I like overall the structure's pretty sound. I do think that the one thing that had to be communicated better was this play points thing.
Yeah,
and it does fit, and there's an outcry right now of an injustice or whatever, and I can fully see that because you've done everything on paper to make it. And also, like, the whole reason they do a top X is so that they can control the amount of people going to the World Championships, but because they couldn't see how many people were Thanosing invites anyway, I feel like there is that wiggle room for the 5 or so people that have the same amount of points. So who knows, maybe we'll get communication.
That's what I mean. There's no like real official confirmation that is the case right now. Until people start getting the invites, or there is an official comms to say, yeah, unfortunately, or maybe not. Maybe you won't get the comms that's unfortunately, or maybe it's the comms that fortunately you've made it to the top X after taking out the direct invites, and congratulations, blah yada yada. I guess my other question is now, if we think about the top X system, and as Ben kind of outrightly put, it was 350 to 500, and now let's say roughly 700 as our point threshold, and that gives us our 130, 140 players per that kind of region, US and Europe. Would that look better than it is in turn, rather than a top X system? So if we had the point threshold at 700, how do we feel about that? Would that change anything for people, do you think?
I think it changes. It probably changes the amount of tournaments people attend, because I feel like out of sheer panic, you can always better a result. Whereas if there's a bar, you can like know exactly what to shoot for. So I think it does. I think it definitely changes attendance, even if it's a high bar. But okay. I mean, like, still the goal is there. And the one thing that feels bad is that, like, now going into a tournament, those like cups and whatnot, you're pushing people away. You're pushing people down if you're trying to push yourself up, which does take away some of the camaraderie. And like, there were people in those last couple of rounds where if they're coming up against someone within that top 100, there's the awkward situation of like, bro, you gotta let me in, you gotta help me out here, sort of thing. Like, I just need this. But then there's the flip side of like, oh, you're not doing a nice thing because someone else is at
suffering for
it's at someone else's expense, right? So I do feel like that still creates awkward situations for like, and it's down to players to decide what they want to do, and then it's awkward. I mean, I don't think that there needs to be any of that in the game.
I feel like it's actually. Oh, go on.
I was going to say, to echo that, I actually do like the idea that it is the top X system helps to technically prevent that argument of saying, "Oh, are you going for that awkward? Are you going for your world invite chat?" Right? I've been on a good side of it before. I've been on this side where I've given someone like a win before for, trying to get points for a certain particular reason. It's just by taking that away, you have no guilt. You shouldn't really have any guilt. You shouldn't have anything else, right?
Yeah,
so
agreed.
that's
the conversation still happened though, right? And you're only in front of the person asking. That's the problem.
It's just with
it's an easier thing to be like, no, because it boots someone. I guess it gives you an easy reply. But
why in a nice way, why do you deserve it over the person you're potentially kicking out, right?
It's just with the top X system, it's a lot more hectic, right? At least with the points barrier, it's a lot more planned. It's a lot more straight cut. But I can see why it's a top X system over a points barrier, because the points barrier is an early commitment by Pokemon to say, okay, we're going to have X.
We want this.
We don't know the number, right? We don't know.
At the same merit, the top X system has also been a contributing factor to us breaking records this season for attendance.
Agreed.
That's so has to continue to play.
But at least that's actually a good point, because it would be interesting to see what our top 125 was last year. I'll have a look at that now.
I mean, we've looked at it before.
The thing is, it doesn't necessarily matter how much it was last year, because it's a moving goal is different from a set goal. Yeah, and specifically to the latter stages of the season, there's way less of a decline than we would have seen in previous sets.
It was far less. It was 552.
Oh yeah, but we knew that because people would stop. However, if
people stop when they get it.
But the thing is, if it was a bar, now that I'm having a chance to think about it after asking the question to you guys, if you hit 450 and you only had like 2 tournaments to go, you may not go to those 2 tournaments. You know what I mean? Because it's like 250 is still quite a good chunk to try and maybe improve a finish over, or even try and reach. So yeah, in that mindset, I guess you'd just be like, oh, I might go NAIC and play a fun deck. At that point, I've kind of given up.
Like
maybe
Blaziken, Zoroark or something.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
something
you either win or you lose.
Crazy like that.
Something crazy that certainly won't pay off.
Yeah, I'm sure over the summer, and even as we continue now, whilst we're recording this podcast, we're going to continue having this conversation about it. There's a couple of other interesting things about that I think like we can quickly touch upon. Around the poll structure as well. There was a tweet which was retweeted by Kieran Farah, by Chris Chen, and in the end, it was kind of this discussion about whether juniors and seniors should continue having that kind of level of grind maybe a masters should have, because you're not only talking about children or kids at the end of the day, you're talking about the families, the parents, the people, the guardians, whomever, and there's just so much more that they have to kind of almost, I don't know, give up's the right word, because in reality you should be doing it for the love of the game, as you know we quote unquote all do, but
certainly when you do as badly as I do.
Right, but it is a grind.
Yeah.
So should juniors and seniors have the same system? Because I don't know, it's like 75, right, spaces for the younger divisions and so on.
I think
is that the right system for them?
It should be the same system, because they migrate from this system to the masters eventually, in any case. But
that's possibly true.
The sentiment is that earlier on in the season, I knew that the grind was going to be that much harder, because you're not reaching a certain goal. You're reaching get as many points as possible. So it's not like if you're a junior or senior, you can stop halfway through the season because you've made 500 points. You have to continue going, unless you've made 1,000 points or whatever it is. You feel like it's necessary to keep going because you have to.
And I think in that tweet it was mentioned about just how like maybe a kid had lost their fire to enjoy the game, right, and because of the grind that you kind of go through.
Yeah, that's
unfortunate.
It's like,
yeah, it is, and that's the biggest thing. It is a grind, but I think it happens to masters as well. So I don't think it's necessarily just juniors and seniors that feel it. But
it's just that it's a young person that also needs to focus on their study and other things, which is a fair comment. And the cost is so much more substantial when it's a whole family, and this is a luxury game, right? So the families that are currently doing that circuit, they are in a good position generally, you would imagine, but it does put pressure on the results of the kid as well, just to be on a snowball at times. So I mean, the whole point of why we have top X is just for logistics. Otherwise they would go back to a bar. There's like no reason to not. So the reason why it's for all divisions is so that they can have complete control of how many people are going to be in that venue when it comes to the World Championships. So it's not a semantic argument. It's purely a logistic argument, unfortunately.
It's just a case of not committing. So if you've got to say earlier on in the season, if you're organizer, it's 550 points or whatever, you've made that commitment to your I was about to say stakeholder, to your player base. You've made that commitment already. So everybody's going to go into that season 550. That's what I need. I'm going to go to X regional, this regional, that regional, whatever. And there is an element of me that actually selfishly kind of likes top X because I like the chase of it. But it's
you've not been chasing.
Yeah,
you've been watching.
But
that's the thing.
But I like when we do get to do commentary.
Poor Nelly's not going to see her dad.
When we're all sitting on the sofa.
Terrible. Well, yeah, it's great for a spectator. Sure, it's exciting, but it's. But I don't think you can say you can enjoy it until you've done it yourself, really. But like some of the points that were picked up on in terms of like that enjoyment and the goal setting and stuff, I think the game teaches kids to be adults in so many ways in terms of like time commitment, dedication to something, preparation.
I mean, it's
winning and losing and like adapting to that and heartbreak and all and like competition. It teaches so much for a kid.
I was going to say when you start comparing, obviously it's not a sport. It's probably barely an esport. It means going.
Yeah, go on.
I mean, you know what I mean, though, right? When you're let's for example say you're a talented child going through like the sporting system, that is a grind still. You have to dedicate theoretically your life, or at least a good chunk of your early life to see whether you can do it or not. And it's probably because it's got this whole like face of the things where it's like it's Pokemon, right? It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
But when we say it's the competitive scene, it really does have to mean it's a competitive scene.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I completely get the sentiment. I wouldn't want my kid to be like enjoying Pokemon and then all of a sudden, because like he's had a few bad tournaments or just bad travel experiences and he just doesn't want to do it again. I would never want to put them through that, right? As parents, you just don't want to see it. So
the thing is, if you're not enjoying the grind of the dedication, that's the game, honestly. And like, if you just want to play Pokemon as a tabletop game, it's an amazing tabletop game where you
Yeah,
can have fun with your
absolutely,
family and your friends around you. So if it's the travel that you don't like, or the competitive environment, and you're like stressing out 2 weeks before an event just because you need to do really well, and you don't enjoy those things, some people get a buzz out of that, you know. Some people find that just as fun and all part of it.
Well,
and I think we've played long enough to know those feelings of angst before a tournament and like needing to do well or whatever. And we sort of take that as part of the playing experience.
Well,
so
again,
that's a personal thing for people. I know a lot of people, especially with top X structure, who much prefer the shackles being released and saying like, I can lean back this year and play poke when I want to play poke and not when I don't.
And that's
like, in a lot of ways, that's a much healthier relationship with this game for some people. And I think kids especially, if they're not happy to grind every year, I think that's completely fine. Come back when you want to.
You've heard me and Ben both say we're quitting before, like
but that
shares.
shares exactly the same sentiment that we said at the start of the year. We love the fact that we can play the game now with zero pressure, because we've set the expectation with, if we don't make worlds, if we don't win a regional in our first regional, it's fine. If we don't get top 8, it's fine, because we know that for the rest of the year that we can just chill out and relax and play the game for what it is, rather than that hype. You don't have to play this game hyper competitively. You don't have to. You can play this game however which way you like. You can approach it however way you want.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think I'll finish it there. We'll touch the other point on the next pod, because I think that's another like conversation topic in its own right. But
spicy.
This is, I've got to reel them in. We've got to keep coming back, but these are our opinions, right? That everyone has a different opinion on this. There's so much stuff on there online. End of the day, we're trying to all enjoy this Pokemon game and enjoy it however you need to enjoy it, right? That's the most important thing. That's why I enjoyed it so much, seeing people. I mean, just watching the juniors final was incredible because of the enjoyment of a family, even if they didn't get there, because they had loads of our juniors that were vying for the win as well. Final words then. Season's over for everyone, apart from you, Joe. Of course, you've got to grind and try and work out, the World Championships matter. What's summer look like for everyone? Rab's already mentioned cups and challenges pinging up on our Discord or whatever, which is outrageous.
Oh yeah.
But they start in July, as we always do these seasons. Summer, do we get a break? We're obviously not watching the Club World Cup, because that's a farce in itself. So
yeah.
Kieran Tierney's back. That's all I know.
My next couple of weeks is getting the house all in order. I have to do a bit of a summer cleanup, because Emily arrives on the 1st of July.
Very good.
And we'll be doing our first cups and challenges on the 5th.
But you already eyed it up? Is there already one?
Gara! Have you heard of a little place known as Leamington Spa? Because I will be there. So
if you want to visit and see 2 of your favourite casters in one cup, or maybe it's just a challenge, you go to Leamington Spa.
I think it's a challenge.
Ooh,
yes.
a challenge.
So the grind is on. I'm saying it publicly so that you guys can rip me if I do crap. I am attempting the invite next season. So there, I've said it. I've said it out loud.
I'm always attempting the invite anyway, and then I'll get depressed towards
I just want to say,
yeah,
Joe, when we have our kind of couples gathering, it sounds weird.
By the way, that I wasn't invited to, everyone.
Sounds weird. Sounds weird.
Oh yeah, late.
We got a little poker couples retreat going on. There is a Newport's League challenge on the Saturday. Hello. Harriet will not be happy.
I think that weekend we'll take it off, but I think July I will be attending locals and getting my Worlds testing in. Obviously, all of July Cups is current NAIC format, but I'm going to put a lot of reps into Worlds. Obviously, I want to know what I'm talking about when I'm there. I think the first impressions, I think the Genesect DX is a busted card for Golden Go. I think Balloon is equally busted for Golden Go. So now you can use Bodu in the deck, and you can pivot between your Dengos, which is big for just more draw power. I think Reshiram is very good in Ho-Oh Box and the Balloon. I still think Ho-Oh Box is inconsistent, but whatever. I do think Joltik / a Miraidon Eels could be pretty good, because Zekrom's a crazy card. But we'll get into more details of that at some point. I've printed off all my proxies, so...
Well, there you go.
It's a modest chunk, but... yeah, I'm going to be doing lots of tabletop with it as well. So, and Hilda's broken as well. She's so good. She gets Neo Upper. That's broken.
Benjamin's obviously playing Pokemon. I will maybe try and get to Pokemon if I can. I don't know, Ben, do you have any final words?
High objectives this summer. Drive.
Objective this summer. Drive. Okay.
Drive.
That's good.
Good start.
Get at least 2 league challenges and a cup in this summer.
Not results. Just
July
play.
only. Just get to them. Yeah. Some play points.
I think
He's
that's
looking
it.
for that buffer.
Get the play points
I think
up.
that's it.
Come on.
That's it right now. I believe.
Right.
That's
Good.
it. Done.
Okay. I think we're finally can end it there. If you've made it to the end, you got a little insight into Joe's world's thoughts and early thoughts. So that's congratulations to you. Well done. It's only an hour 45. But thank you very much for listening to our podcast. This is the Spill the TCG pod with myself, Alex Dow, Benjamin Yard, and Joe Bernard. So thank you very much. See you guys soon. Thank you.
Bye.